Yesterday I was doing some positivity journaling and I did this little piece of artwork, and I've decided that I want to make it in a piece of fabric, so make it into some fabric wall art or maybe even a journal cover. I'm not quite sure yet, but I know that I want to make the same sort of thing but in fabric. So I'm going to use the similar style, and I'm going to use some fabric scraps to make it, and I'm also going to copy some of the quote, just the positivity is contagious part, and stitch that on, and then do a little bit of slow stitching on top as well. So if you like the idea of that and want to see how it turns out, then carry on watching. To get the quote onto the heart, what I'm going to do is use this sticky Fabri-Solvi, and I'm actually going to stitch the words onto the fabric. So I've cut myself a little piece of the Fabri-Solvi out, and I've got this little light box here that I use to align journal covers. I have printed off just a sheet of paper with the quote in the sort of lettering that I would like to use, and this light here, hopefully that's not going to blind you, basically if I just put the Fabri-Solvi over the top like that, and I'll mark sort of where the top part and where the bottom part is so that I can then align it onto my fabric. I'll then just use a fabric pen just to write over the top, so when I stick this onto the fabric I can actually see where to stitch. Now my stitching is not very neat, and I don't tend to do stitch writing very often, so let's hope this goes well, but hopefully this will help to make it look a little bit neater. I've actually changed my mind. Instead of using the Solvi and putting that on there, because I decided I'm going to die cut my fabric into the heart shape, and it's actually got some heat and bond light on the back so I can sew it in place, I'm actually just going to go straight ahead and trace the words onto the heart, and then that just takes one step out of it. So I'm going to do that now because I found my fabric pen, and hopefully you won't see that once I've stitched on it. So I'm going to just turn up the light there and just trace it over so I know it's in the right position. Right, so that's cool, that's worked okay. I've got my little travel iron heating up, and what I'm going to do is attach this piece of fabric onto this little heart, which I've cut out of batting, cotton batting, which is used for quilts to provide that nice sort of spongy feel with quilts. And I'm actually going to use a backing of the same fabric as well, of the same batting as well. Now I have used the die cutter, the same die cutter, but it's exactly the same size, so I think what I'm going to do is just trim off a small amount around the edge so that it provides sort of a puffiness to it, rather than have any of the batting sticking out of the side. And so I'm just going to very quickly just cut a tiny amount, little sliver, and I should have really brought my shears down for this but I didn't, so I'm just going to have to be really careful and just cut a little amount. And now when I iron it on, I've just got my little travel iron here warming up. When I iron it on, I just need to be very careful not to iron onto the words, because obviously that will then make the pen disappear. So I've heated it up, and now I'm just going to very quickly, you can see there's heat and bond light on the back side of the fabric, and that's a glue, so when I put the iron on it, that will melt and it will just fuse it to the batting, and that will help me to be able to stitch through it and keep it level, keep it together. So if I just very gently iron this, you just have to hold it on for a few seconds and it melts it, and we'll just hold it in place long enough for me to be able to stitch those words. So there we go, that's just enough. Fuse it to that batting material so it's easier for me to do. So I'm going to stitch that, and then we're going to make the rest of it. It's already fading fast, so I need to get a move on. So I'm going to use this gorgeous shimmery black thread here, and I'm just going to very quickly stitch this in place. I say quickly, it's going to take me ages because I'm pretty slow really when it comes to stitching, so that's a nice slow stitch project for me. So I'll get to that and then show you the finished article in a minute, rather than making you sit through the whole process. I'm just going to do a back stitch all the way along, which would make it a lot easier if I'm not filming it. So this is just to show you the start, and you will see my awfully dry hands during this process. Basically just a basic back stitch using fairly small stitches just to fill in those words. So here we have the stitching. Obviously it's not perfect, but it's good enough, and it's lovely and twinkly because I used some twinkly thread. So what I'm going to do now is possibly add some colour to this heart, and also we've got to layer up some of the background coloured fabric and stitch that on as well. So I'm going to use some Derwent Inktense just to add a little bit of colour around the edge. I've started here and I'm just using the pencil to just lightly add a little bit of colour, and then going in with some water, just dragging that around. This should in theory have the have the setting property so that it won't then shift in the future, but I will be ironing this, so that will heat set it as well. So I'm just going to go around and just add some pretty colour around the outside. So that was such a lot of fun. I added the pencil around the edge and then used a paintbrush to wet it, and then in the end I just ended up using my fingers just to sort of smush it around, and that was deeply satisfying, and I really like the end result of that, very watercolour. So I'm really pleased with that. So I'm going to let that dry, and I am going to iron that as well to heat set it, and we will sew that then on top. But next what we're going to do is get some more pretty fabrics, and we're going to cut them so that we get that lovely rainbow burst effect sort of shooting out from the back of the heart. So if you can imagine all the different colours that will be going around that. So we're going to do that next. So I'm going to go and get my scrap fabric with the Heat and Bond light attached to the back, and we're just going to cut a few pieces of fabric that will then fit behind, and we can then iron those onto the backing fabric. So this is as far as I've got this week. I've managed to sew around some of the fabric pieces with the gold thread, and I've just done a very basic stitch attaching one piece to another really onto the backing. And if I just show you, the backing obviously is going to look a little bit untidy, but that's possibly either going to be on the front of a journal, or it might even be in a frame on the wall, and I haven't quite decided yet what I'm going to do with it, but I just wanted to have a little bit of fun making something out of my own artwork. Now I've not sewn the heart on yet. I will be doing that later, but I want to finish off sewing all of the little pieces of fabric onto the backing first. Then I'll probably sew the heart on, and then what I'm going to do is a little bit of slow stitching using some different threads, and add a few sequins and some little embellishments and things like that just to finish it off. But I'm actually going to finish the video here because I think it's getting quite long enough already, so I'll be able to show you the finished project hopefully in another video. So I hope that's okay with you. I'm sorry for the wobbly camera, my iPad isn't in a stand at the moment. But I did want to say thanks ever so much for joining me. Thank you so much for your support, for all the lovely comments that people leave when they see my videos. I have noticed I've been getting an awful lot more subscribers recently, and I just wanted to welcome everybody and say thanks so much for watching my videos, and for any time you get in touch and leave a comment and say hi. You know, I really love that. It's keeping me going. And I know a lot of people are coming from the junk journal background, and I will be doing some more junk journaling stuff. I've got to have a massive clear out, so I will be showing you that process no doubt soon as well. So I just want to say thanks ever so much for joining me. I hope you did enjoy seeing the process so far. Please do give me a thumbs up if you don't mind, and if you want to, then do consider subscribing and clicking that notification bell so you actually get notified of my future videos. So take care, I hope you're having some crafty fun, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye!